If I knew then what I know now, there is no way I would have bought a single family home as my first rental property.
So why do you say that? I'm curious why wouldn't you buy a single family? Because I take the other side. I think for me it's like I just wouldn't have spent so much time on smaller properties or single family, but why wouldn't you buy any?
Okay, so single family houses, we talk about this in the book. You have one vacancy or 100% vacant, right? And in '08, I was trying to do spec houses. I had some land that I was sitting on that I was paying interest-only debt on. I had a couple single-family houses. If I had a repair or a vacancy, it just crushed me from a cash flow perspective. And like the one asset that was actually doing well was my duplex. I had multiple streams of income. My expenses were lower because I was sharing expenses across one foundation, one roof, etc. And even if I was looking at my own home, like my first house that I bought on a VA loan, and I did house hacking. So, rented out the rooms, walled off half the garage, rented that out. Like I was pretty scrappy. But, I could have went out and bought a triplex, and I could have lived in one unit and had some privacy and rented out the other two, or lived in one unit and rented out the bedrooms of that unit and rented out the other two units. So I just think like the more income streams, the better. Even if it's a duplex or a triplex or a fourplex and you're not getting sort of the benefits of forced appreciation, which is a commercial asset that's 5 units or more, I just would have done a lot better. And I think I would have been a lot further along in my game than I would have been.
I get your point, Travis, and I'm always conflicted on this because I get asked that often. Like, if you were to go back and do it differently, would you have started with single family? My first 3 properties were single family homes. And the reason I'm conflicted is obviously today I'm buying much bigger properties. I went from single family into small multifamily, mobile home parks. I now own triple net commercial properties. So, I'm pretty spread out throughout the country and asset types. That said, when I get asked the question, hey, would you have started with bigger properties? The reason I'm always conflicted is because those first couple properties, especially that first home, that first single family home, which I also house hacked. I rented 2 of the 3 rooms out, one to a friend, one to my brother, and I lived for less than I could anywhere else. It gave me the confidence and the experience to go do the second deal and the third deal.
But the question was, what would you do then, knowing what you know now? And I'll challenge you, Gabe. What was the property? Because I know your story. What was the property that changed your life? What was the one purchase that you made that got you to replace all of your day job income? What was it? It wasn't the single family house.
No, it was 4 units. It was 2 duplexes side by side. That said, yes and no though. That first property did change my life because it gave me the confidence and experience. It was a proof of concept. That first property was purchased in 2005 at the top of like a crazy market, right? Outbid by, I was looking at all these properties, outbid. Anyone could qualify for a home, but it was tough to get a property because investors were everywhere. And I was a first-time home buyer. But I'd buy this property with no money out of pocket. 80% one loan, 20% another, 80 plus 20, that's 100 for those that are not good at math. Well, I'm not good at math, but that's an easy one. And so, yeah, I actually think that first property was life-changing. And I'm not out buying single-family homes today, nor do I advocate that single-family homes is a great way to scale. But that first property, that second property, that third property, all single family homes, it gave me the confidence and experience to do the next one. It gave me the confidence and experience to then go move into small multifamily. So it's easy today sitting back going, yeah, you said, hey, I would have bought a triplex. Well, shit, I would have bought a $10 million apartment complex for my first property as well. But my mind wasn't there yet. My finances weren't there yet. My experience wasn't there yet. My network wasn't there yet. So it's easy to say 20 years later, you know what? I would have bought this multi-million-dollar multifamily property or this commercial property for my first property. And I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think, for a lot of people, being able to house hack that first home, whether it be a single family, a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex, is a great way to get in. It's not a right or wrong, but it gives you the experience. It gives you the confidence to then go take down the next deal and several deals after.
Well, the way I think about this is like I'm talking to myself 10, 15 years ago, and I'm having this conversation. I'm saying, okay, I have this experience today, but I'm looking back on myself 15 years ago. I'm going to tell that person, get in the game, whatever you can do. If that's a single family home, that's fine. For me though, what I would have changed, if I could go back in time and change, yeah, I'd probably go buy a single family or duplex or something small, but I wouldn't spend so much time there. I spent a lot of time there and I was trying to scale as much as I could inside that. My brain was locked into like single family or duplex at the most. And so for me, I think what I would change is I would put myself on a nice linear progression or a curve, being that I'd start with a single family home, figure that out. Maybe it's a house hack. Okay, great. I got a good loan on that. I put 3.5% down, whatever, conventional or VA if you're ex-military. But then I'd start moving on much faster and scaling up much faster, because we know when you get into the 5 units and plus, you get forced appreciation, you get all those great things. I didn't do that. I went from 20, well, actually, my first property was 19 years old to, I want to say, 32 years old. That's like what, 13 years. And I was buying small properties and I was not I didn't get past that. It was what, 32 or 33 years old when I bought 39 units with you, Trav, our first mobile home park.
I changed your life.
The whole
I
game.
changed your life.
Well, you didn't change my life. The asset changed my life. I mean, you did change my life. Don't get me wrong. It's been really weird since then. But no, I'm joking. So, but the point is, I don't think you want to spend so much time with the smaller properties. And there's so many reasons for that beyond forced appreciation. That's also usually you're self-managing, you're closer to it. You're the one who's, talking to the tenant and going and fixing things and whatever. I mean, I was the quintessential. I have a couple properties. I have some tools. I've got a truck. I can go over there and fix things. I was playing that game, which I think is fine to play for a little while, but play the game just long enough to learn that and understand that, get the knowledge, then take that knowledge and go become an investor and buy stuff a lot bigger, 5+ units, ideally 50+ units. If you like what you're hearing on this podcast and want to come and hang out with us, as well as other members who are scaling in cash flow real estate, you've got to check out our elite mastermind. Inside, we've got investors who own hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate and are doing amazing things. We'd love for you to come join us. Click the link below.
So Mitch, I hear that and I agree. I think what I hear you say is it doesn't matter where you start, as long as you start, but don't get stuck in that fixed mindset of, hey, single families properties are going to be life changing. Now, I know people that built large portfolios of single family, but I do think it's a slow game. And I think a lot of people get into real estate because they want financial freedom. They want to be free. And, you scale in larger properties. So like when I hear you say that, I think about like, hey, it doesn't matter if it's a single family home or a duplex, triplex, or some other, first property, as long as you don't keep yourself there. And I do think it's easy to get a fixed mindset around, man, it was hard to buy that first single family home. It was hard to buy that second one. How in the hell would I ever buy a 10-unit property? How would I ever buy a 40-unit apartment complex or a 40-unit mobile home park? And not to get stuck in that fixed mindset of, hey, I'm going to buy single family. I know single family. It's easy. It becomes easy. So I'm just going to stay there. That's what I hear you say.
Well, I think, yes. And I agree. And I think like, if you think about this, like, let's say you're talking to somebody who wants to go scale, they want to go buy businesses. Their first business, they might go buy like a coffee shop. A coffee shop's like a single family asset. In other words, there's not enough margin to pull in a manager to have leadership and actually run that coffee shop. You're going to be married to that coffee shop. Now, is that bad necessarily? Not necessarily, because you're going to learn the business, you're going to learn how to buy it, how to structure it, how to run it. You're going to learn the bookkeeping, the accounting. You're going to learn all the pieces and parts of that small little coffee shop, but you're probably not going to scale in small coffee shops because every single one of them needs your individual attention. Just like oftentimes a single family home or smaller asset needs your time, needs your attention. It only works if you manage it. It only works if you fix things. So if you're going to get, just like in business, using that analogy, the next one you buy, don't let it be a coffee shop. Go buy something big enough to where you can plug in leadership, a manager, a CEO, and you can actually get out of the game and play investor.
You're not telling me that any new investor that's coming and asking you like, hey, you've been through it, single family to duplex, a small apartment building to mobile home park to triple net industrial, whatever the case is, you're telling me that you're not going to say, you know what, it's just as easy to buy a triplex using FHA financing. I think you can get 5% down now, live in one unit because you're owner occupied, you're getting the best rates. the income and expenses are exactly the same as a single family house, except your vacancy line is going to be lower. Your income line is going to be higher, and you're going to have shared expenses across that. You can still manage it. Mitch, you can still take your cute little toolkit around and pretend like you know what you're talking about and fix things. But it's the same
There's
math.
the guy with the giant truck so high you can't even put anything in the bed of it.
Yeah, wait, you know what? A little man truck. I'll defend it all day long. Little man.
I didn't have to get a lift because I have security.
It makes me feel big. It makes me feel strong.
Fucking 10-foot ladder to get back.
But it's the same math, though. It's the same math. It's the debt's the same. Everything's the same.
Okay, you can make the same argument for a mobile home park, though. You could say, go buy a 50-unit mobile home park. It's easier. Commercial real estate is easier. You can bring on a team. It's easier. Here's the problem. People that don't own a home are intimidated by buying a single-family home. They're extremely intimidated by buying a triplex. Just like when you start driving a car, you're not going to put somebody in a Lamborghini because they're probably going to wreck around the corner. You put them in a Honda Civic until they understand how to get to the next level. So I think it's a linear progression, and I think it's easy now to say, go buy something bigger. But for me, I think getting in the game is the most important piece. It's just don't stay small. Don't stay in single family. Grow to the next level. So yeah, if you can go buy a triplex versus a single family day one, fine. That's great. And it's probably better than a single family. But like we have all kinds of listeners, right? And like some people don't even own a home, and that's fine. Get in the game, break the seal, learn the transaction, learn how to structure something, learn the debt, learn how to operate it, and then start moving. I think the most important part of this conversation is move past your limiting beliefs and consistently grow in property size.
Yeah, I think the important piece is to take some action. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, the advice I would give, yeah, if you can go get, some creative financing or an FHA loan on a single family, a duplex, a triplex, or fourplex, go try to buy that 4-unit place. Live in the smallest unit, or live in one bedroom of one of the units and rent out the other units. So all of a sudden, let's say it's a 4-bedroom unit and you're renting out 3 of the bedrooms, you live in 1 bedroom and you're renting out the other 3 units. That's absolutely ideal. 3.5% down FHA loan, sure. But if a duplex is your first property or a single family is your first property, you're going to house hack that thing, and that's your way into the game. That's your way into the game. There's not one right or wrong way, but you have to take action and you have to get into the game. So, like I say often, and I simplify it, go out there and buy some fucking real estate.